Yeah, I love that. And it's so true. And I've watched you really step into that in the past year, especially. And I want to know if you'll get vulnerable on this for a moment. Originally, when you
Sure.
started in with us as a client, you and Megan started together, and
Hmm.
she was like, hell yeah, I'm doing this. I'm all in. And you kind of were like that at first. And then what happened? I mean, you started, and I will say this with our work and the inner blueprint is it creates almost a fight or flight response at first because you're like, wait a minute. Am I ready to really dive into this? Am I ready to be
That's
honest? Am
it.
I ready to like look in the mirror and take control of my life? And I think, you're like me, we're more of flighters. Like that's my initial response is I'm gonna run from something. And I watched you kind of self-destruct for a moment and then come back more powerful than ever. So if you'll hit on that, I think that is something that needs to be shared.
Sure. So during that moment in my life, Megan and I it was getting a little tremulous. I was still learning. See, I had a lot of fight or flight even with my relationship because I'm with a woman that's different than any type of person that I've ever been with. So that was um, a new challenge for me. So I was already like feeling kind of flighty, like this is too good to be true. I'm not worthy of this type of person. So my subconscious mind was like numbing, using more drugs, smoking more weed, drinking more often. I still was dealing with a lot of anger and rage issues as well. So, and that did not set well with my wife, especially at that time. And then when I got into the inner blueprint and started doing this work, it was a lot and it was scary to me. And it was like, I really have to change my life. And what does that look like? And it didn't look familiar to me. So something in my mind went right back to the old familiar. And I had, uh, a bad judgment call. And I went off on a week drug binge and started using cocaine again, and which totally almost lost everything. It's
Mm-hmm.
like I almost threw every good thing I had away in my life. The Les Brown coaching was starting at the same time as well. This Sean Foyer coaching starting at the same time. I just got married. I had a great wife. We're starting to build a business, and I was willing to let it all go for familiarity and to hide into that shell. Like I didn't know if I was ready or capable of making these changes. So there was a lot of self-worth, um, self-doubt and self-worth, visualization in my own self that was going on at that point. And I'm really glad that and that's the reason why I went into the recovery program. I knew that this was not really what I wanted. And there had to be a drastic change in order for me to really take the reins and take control of my life.
Well, and Daniel, I want to hit on this a little bit, and for listeners, and all of us have a point in our life where we get to that, where we've done a lot of work, we get to a better place, and this was an E plus R equals O moment. I think the events where your life was getting really good,
Really good.
and
Hmm.
your reaction was to go back to something that was more familiar. And who am I to
Correct.
deserve this? We talk about self love and self worth, and I've worked with lots of business owners. Even if they didn't have addiction or some of the struggles you had in the past, we self sabotage. We literally do the work, get the life that we think we deserve. And then at some level, and this is that subconscious part of us that just isn't familiar with it, doesn't feel like that we quite deserve it. And I love that you used your stop here and did a really hard reset and took a step back. So maybe you just kind of relay into that of what that looked like. And even to this day, you know, does that still come up sometimes of who might have deserved this? Because I know for me, we talk about imposter
I
syndrome.
was gonna say this is imposter syndrome, like in the flesh, because we get to this thing where we're better than anyone in our family has ever been. We're more successful. It feels lonely. It feels unfamiliar. It feels scary because you don't have someone to look up to that is close to you or your blood even
Hmm.
to really emulate. And you're like, shit, it's up to me. Like I am the one. And I have to make that choice. Am I going to step into being the one in my family line, in my bloodline, that changes the trajectory of who the BDs are from this point forward? Because I know it's got to be hard. I feel this. even sometimes to this day, I've been doing this work, my whole life, but mainly the last 5 years, where I get imposter syndrome from being married to Sean because he's such a powerful, amazing person. And I think, who am I?
Welcome to the Inner Blueprint Podcast. I'm Sean Foyer, the Universal Mindset Disruptor. With over 20 years of turning blueprints into thriving home improvement businesses, I've learned that the strongest foundations start in your mind. Whether you're building a business or your own success, we're here to reshape how you think and face daily life, and always remind you to enjoy the ride.